We have developed the subject line and the introduction paragraph, which has ensured that A, the mail is opened, and B, the mail would be read. We have created the interest in the first introduction paragraph to ensure that the mail would probably be read. What we need to now think about is all those critical information that we need to include in the rest of the mail to ensure that the mail is remembered. For it to be remembered, the content has to be interesting and hold some promise for the person reading the mail, enough for the person to remember and hopefully want to know more. It should assure the person that speaking or meeting with you could be of benefit to him or his organization. The rest of the mail should ideally consist of not more than 2 paragraphs of 2 to 3 sentences in each, and ending the mail with a clear call to action, something that you would like to achieve, possibly a meeting with a timeline, even suggesting a possible date. Most important, when developing the content for the rest of the mail, please ensure that the mail is visible in one view, in one window. The reader, the person should not be required to scroll to read the rest of the mail. Now let's use the same 3 examples and try and build a cold mail and see what kind of cold mail I have built, which is what I will share with you in those 3 examples, and see how effective it can be. It was effective for me in various degrees. So let's get on to it straight away. We have in this example an interesting subject line and a good introduction that talks of India's potential and also gives some insight on the possible challenges that recruitment teams face, which is interview fraud. The second paragraph, which you now see here in blue, attempts to reinforce the India story. Don't forget, this is one of the objectives. Get them to open shop in India. So here in the second paragraph, I shared some information that would be of significance to their business, which is recruitment. So how many people join the workforce every year? How many people does the IT industry alone recruit every year? Why IT industry? Because they would be the most inclined to adopt any new technology, the early adopters, the ideal early adopters. How many smartphones? Why smartphones? Because one of the main features is asynchronous interviews, which is giving the facility of anytime, anywhere interviews. Remember, this is way back in 2014 when such interview facilities were not really an accepted practice. So back then it was a new concept. In the asynchronous mode, both the interviewer as well as the candidate can conduct interview wherever they are and whenever mutually convenient. You need not necessarily be in front of a computer or a laptop. So smartphone population as an indicator helps to establish that there is a tech-savvy workforce that can and will use handheld devices to take interviews, and India has an upwardly mobile workforce with increasing spending power, so adoption of such new technologies will not be a hurdle to the growth of their business. So this paragraph tries to establish the viability of the Indian market with some relevant data. This is actually a reinforcement of what we have mentioned in the first paragraph. The third paragraph is about me, my experience, to establish my suitability to set up and manage the show. I clearly outline the objectives that I will set for myself and achieve, which is establish a presence with the first set of customers and use that experience to build a credible 3-year business plan. This is to give them the idea that I know what I'm talking about, that I have done this before, which I have, by the way, just for your information. I also suggested a phased approach. Engage with me to conduct a market study for you and help you take a decision to set up in India or not. This I did because I knew they will want some market data on the Indian market. They are not going to take a call just on my mail or a conversation with me. It's too big a decision. So there you are, the entire cold mail. As you can see, I have ended the mail with a clear call to action by suggesting a date for a Skype call, and I've also shared my Skype ID to display my seriousness. Did this effort actually help me achieve my objective? Yes, it did. Of the 10 mails that I sent, 7 to the US and 3 to UK and Europe, I received 9 responses, of which 4 were converted into serious discussions, and I actually closed one, a US company, into a paid market assessment assignment. So for me, my effort paid. My effort yielded the desired result, which is have a conversation, convert it into a meeting or into an assignment. And I did all of that. I did all of that with my mail. Let's move now to the next video or next example on cybersecurity services. In the second example, offering cybersecurity services to enterprises, we used the subject line to touch on potential vulnerabilities or position some very special skills which are not easy to get. The introduction to straight away gets into action, showing showcasing the service providers' capabilities and the fact that they have customers who have reposed the faith in their capabilities. I followed it up with a strong credibility building exercise in the second paragraph, focused on the team's experience, the service provider's knowledge of the domain, and the key challenges that they will help address. Don't forget, this is a service. So the only way to sell services is to showcase skills, people, process, and practice, highlight experience. The key challenges for enterprises being audit compliance and implementation of best practices, which is making their enterprise data so very vulnerable. I have focused on the services that the service provider can deliver to address these vulnerabilities. So the second paragraph clearly displays the fact that this service provider has the experience and the knowledge, and they know what they are talking about. Having shared enough information, adequate information in the second paragraph itself, I decided to close the mail with a quick call to action where I have given a potential date and time when I would call back for a follow-up action. What did this mail do for me? Actually, not much. I did not close any contracts, but I did start some serious conversations. I started a couple of conversations with large enterprises. I was also able to create a lot of conversations with potential partners, other cybersecurity solution providers, and also cybersecurity service providers to augment their team efforts in providing privileged access management services. Through these associations, I was able to talk to their customers and their large enterprise partners. Whilst I did not close any contracts, I was able to start some meaningful conversations, which is one of the objectives of this particular mail. So let's move on to the last example, which is about startup accelerators, where I am trying to position myself as a potential startup mentor in the program. This third example about reaching out to startup accelerators, the options for the subject line were developed to create curiosity and also to try and create some differentiator, trying to make them think about the difference between what to do and how to do and their current practice. The introduction talks of my experience in the startup space, experience with accelerators, and trying to create the interest and the confidence that I have the experience to help them achieve their objectives. The second paragraph actually has been developed with the intention of quickly clinching the deal, because it talks of all those important initiatives that every accelerator must have and is constantly striving to establish and falling short most of the time, because this requires a lot of experience. Each of the initiatives mentioned in this paragraph requires experience to build those modules, put in place an implementation process and plan, and most important, have a good assessment framework to ensure all the startups are in compliance with the objectives of these initiatives. These are initiatives that are very important since they are the critical building blocks for the growth of the startup. For example, take the first initiative, objective and key results. Most organizations, even large enterprises, struggle with dissemination of enterprise objectives to every employee so that all are aligned, which will help to ensure consistent performance in achieving corporate goals. This is even more important for startups because they are a small organization. All the information about what needs to be done lies only with the leadership team, and they need to get it across to everybody because everyone needs to be aligned to work as hard as the leadership team to get there as quickly as possible. Look at the third initiative, go-to-market plan. Very clearly, this is a very critical action. This is very important for the organization to set in place plans on how they will put in place a growth process. What are those growth objectives that would help them achieve their targets consistently month on month, quarter on quarter, year on year. Similarly, customer acquisition. What are those techniques and strategies that startups, or for that matter any organization, need to adopt to ensure a healthy sales pipeline and bring in more predictability to their customer acquisition process? As you can see, these are very critical for accelerators to implement so that startups in their program will go away feeling that they have achieved the objectives for their presence in the program and have more confidence in building the future for their organizations. Therefore, all these initiatives help to address the objectives of both the CEO as well as the manager. The third paragraph is a quick reiteration of my ability to add value, and I end the mail with the proposed timeline to connect. What did I get out of this mail campaign that I undertook? I sent out 34 cold mails. I got 13 responses and I closed 3. Few more are in discussions. They should close shortly. So I have actually achieved a 30% response rate and a 10% closure rate. You can't get it better. So this cold mail actually did what it was supposed to do for me. The important thing that you need to remember, and I hope I have communicated it in the course of building the cold mails for these 3 examples, is that you need to think before you write that one word or one line or one sentence in that cold mail. Everything has to be thought through. Why are you writing this particular sentence? What is it supposed to do for you? What would it do for the prospect to whom you're sending the cold mail? Is it clearly making some promise? Is it also clearly explaining how you will deliver that promise? What will it actually end up in terms of benefits? What are the benefits that you will deliver for your prospect? All of these, if these are there in your mail and you have thought these through, then that mail will achieve its objective. So that's it in this training session on how to build an effective cold mail. You can view this training as many times as you want. You can come back to it whenever you want. In fact, you can actually use this as a reference whenever you have a doubt, whenever you need to get some clarity. You can always come back and view this training session. If you have really liked this training on building an effective cold mail and you believe that it will actually help you do that, I would really appreciate it if you could share this URL link with your friends and your colleagues, especially those in sales, to help them also to actually have a good sales pipeline and achieve the sales targets. So the next training session that I would be posting very shortly will be cold calling, which is a follow through on the effective building an effective cold mail. That's it from me. Thank you so much and wish you all the very best with your sales career.